Welcome back, well-disposed viewers, to episode 5 of my tutorial series on Phantom Doctrine. I'm Destor, and in this episode I will cover the base facilities, and in the next episode the strategy map, and then the tutorial series will be wrapped up before I continue spiraling off into a let's play to discover the game even further. But like the basic game mechanics will be still part of these two tutorials. So, you've known this screen if you came over from the fourth episode. This is the crew quarters where we have our agents, Durant, the Canister, and Deadpan, our avatar. You still know from the tactical mission, and then we got 3 more agents that are with our operation in here. So the the agent dossier screen, you have a bunch of different stats here. I'm not gonna cover them in detail since you have the stat info that gives you a bunch of information on how to or on what to make of these numbers, and since I want to keep the tutorials brief, you might want to take a look in here yourself. The only thing I'm going to mention there is the dodge cost that you is like an annotation to our last tutorial. So dodging an enemy shot will recover, like I said, this applies to single bullet shots, will cost around 33-ish awareness points. I've seen down here for Ice Pick it's 34, Tinker has 35, but they're all somewhere around 33. So that is maybe something to take into consideration on the tactical map when positioning against single bullet shots. So we have the language proficiency, which will be part of the 6th episode, so just you know where to find it. But now, equipment, character training and stuff. I'm going to start off with the equipment. Each character is capable of carrying 2 guns, you already know that. But I've talked about weapon proficiencies before. Some characters are prone to use certain weapons or are very familiar with certain weapons, and that's why they get bonuses, as in here. Proficiency grants faster reload, which means we'll take less action points, I think. You know, action points are the kind of time in the game, like I mentioned in the last episode. So cheaper headshots, so headshots will cost less awareness. Of course, that only applies to weapons like the pistol that are actually capable of the headshot ability. And weapon modding. And weapon modding is like adjacent to the weapons your character is carrying. You have certain weapon modding slots, and if you have items that actually can be modded, you could add them to the weapons right here. I would recommend to, of course, give out weapon that have a weapon proficiency with your characters. Where do those come from? Now we're gonna jump down here to the character training. Your character, I referred to this in the last video already, has a certain background that determines a weapon proficiency and certain abilities. You remember Durant using the heartbeat sensor in the last tutorial. This is something that derives from his background being a SEAL, and there are different backgrounds, US Marine Corps I think, that give different abilities and weapon proficiency. So wherever the people learned their weapon craft, or like MI6 their secret agent craft, so PSIA, I'm not really sure, try it. So wherever they learned handling their weapons and got their tactical training, that influences the abilities and weapon proficiency, and that of course can't be changed since you can change your past. You also have training, and that also gives out abilities and weapon proficiency, and of course training, you can change that. You can retrain your soldiers. If you retrain an existing training, you will of course lose the current abilities and replace them with abilities of the new training. So in this case, urban operations, then we will get these proficiencies and these abilities instead of those. But as you see, there are multiple slots that can be unlocked, so you can train a character in multiple combat tactics, giving him an even broader variety of abilities and proficiencies that he can then use in his equipment and on the tactical map. Just a fair warning, you don't have any form of reference yet, but retraining takes a day and a half. So a day and 12 hours, that is a really massive amount of time. You will see that in episode 6 when we use the strategy map to actually advance in the game. The whole episode 6 probably will advance like a day and a half in in-game time. That is like almost a ridiculous amount of time for retraining, but I mean, I can understand that getting familiar with the weapon takes some time, but of course the agent will be busy training and can't be in the field, can't cover ground on the world map, can't work in any facilities, so it's a luxury to retrain your agents. That's why you should make, or you have to make do with proficiencies that they have at the start of the game. So especially in the early game, you will have to work with what you have. And that's, like I said, why it's a good thing to loot as much weapons and stuff as you can, because it increases the chance that you have the right weapons with the right proficiency for every agent. So, like I said, you want to have a two-handed weapon and a one-handed weapon, so you can always fire after moving. Now, the submachine gun is between the pistol and the two-handed guns, but as you've seen with Canasta and her Estrella, a submachine gun can still fire after moving 2 tiles. So you can still fire with your fire point, not full auto, but single shot and burst. So it is basically like a pistol because it allows you to fire after moving the full distance. It of course has a bit more range, has a burst fire, so these are some good arguments for giving out submachine guns. On the other hand, the mighty headshot that can blow unaware enemy agents out of cover is something that only the pistol can do. And since we have pistol suppressors somewhere, suppressors that are a huge tactical advantage because firing suppressed shots will not trigger the alarm on the tactic map, there are also good arguments for taking along pistols, but I'm going with proficiency here, so if there is a weapon proficiency, I will always give out that. But like I said, I won't give out two-handed weapons, because then there's no chance of firing after moving. That seems unnecessary. So, furthermore, we have the armor storage, where we can give bulletproof vests, which increases the damage threshold, so the hard armor, as you learned in the last tutorial, by 7. The 2 consumables that the agent can carry can be filled in here. Like I said in the last episodes, these equipments are one time only, so if you use them on the strategy map, they're gone permanently and you have to recraft them in the workshop, which is part of the, like, we'll get to that in a second. So notable is heat. So agents who are in the field, tactical missions and stuff, will acquire heat that will slowly cool down. So since these agents are all under false name, you know, Durant might not even be Terry Thompson, but this is just like a passport alias. Like exposing themselves in the field will increase their heat because they get recognized and people see them and have phantom drawings and stuff. That will slowly decrease over time. But if the heat meter is full, their cover is blown, and you will need to replace or forge a new passport for them to be undercover again. But that is part of the Let's Play, since we first have to build this forger facility that can then forge a new passport to reset the identities and the heat meter of our agents. You have the experience progress and the level progress down here, and you have perks. Now, gaining new level, advancing in the ranks will grant you perks. As you see, there are also secret perks that are unlocked through a variety of different stuff, solving riddles in analytics, finding stuff on the strategy map, looting, maybe even looting something on the tactical map, assigning agents to certain missions. There's a bunch of different stuff that will randomly uncover secret perks. That will be, of course, always beneficial to our agents, but will pop up over time. But advancing in rank, gaining a level, will also give us the ability to pick a new perk. Let's see, we have Dancer, decreases awareness cost of dodging, so it won't be 33 cost to dodge single bullets. Increases maximum hit points, improves benefits of full cover and half cover. Now, since I'm gonna go with full cover improvements, since I always a guy who tries to move in full cover all the time if possible. And you see our avatar already has certain talents and perks, I mean, not talents. So protects from the loss of damage threshold, maximum HP, paramedic, awareness cost of takedown. So since I'm only performing takedowns when I'm in a comfortable position, I don't really need it to cost less awareness. I haven't encountered corrosive substances yet, and that seems to be way specific. I'm torn between here. Carrying other characters is a massive does cost a lot of action points. You have to pick them up, and then you can't move as quick, so you can't move as far. And especially if you try to kidnap an enemy agent or get one of you guys safely to evac, you are very slow with a guy or a girl on your shoulder. That is why I am taking the paramedic perk, because the guy who is carrying another character, he can't shoot, he is basically defenseless, and it is really important to get into safe cover, and moving further means you have a higher chance of reaching full cover and stuff. So paramedic is a real good thing, as is the extension. I covered that ability in the last episode where you sacrifice 25 awareness for moving 2 tiles further per action point. That does come in handy in those situations as well. One more point on the avatar, since this is us. If this character dies on the battlefield, it's game over. I've read that in the menu. I haven't seen how that... the game didn't tell me that yet, but that is a nice information I found in the user's manual. So now I'm gonna just have a quick look if we can... I see. At least give each and every of our agents some weapons. As you can see, we are far away from giving everyone proficiency weapons. I recommend at least giving out weapons to each agent. You know, especially like here, the AK, we have multiple of those weapons, so it doesn't hurt us to at least equip her with weapons, since, you know, agents can be ambushed and stuff when they move on the strategy map, like seen in episode 6, and you don't want her just to run around with a pistol when she's ambushed, so you should at least have your agents docked on weapon. You will probably not have enough equipment and armor to have them also equipped with that. Another annotation on armor, there is light, and I guess there will be heavy armor, but light and heavy armor, be warned, they will immediately raise alarm if somebody sees you in them. So even if you run around in a non-restricted area on the street, as soon as you have light or possibly heavy armor on you, guards and civilians that see you will immediately raise the alarm. Bulletproof vests are, of course, worn under your clothing, so... And since this is a spy agent game relying on infiltration and such, that's why I said in the last episode I think 2 bulletproof vests is a huge loot, because it improves our damage threshold, so our hard armor, without the negative effects that light armor has by making us or making it a lot harder to infiltrate enemy bases, because even in the public parts where you're allowed to walk around, you will still raise suspicion. So we have 6 out of 8 agents. We can hire new agents with the tab right here. As you've seen in the after action report last mission, we uncovered 2 agent contacts, so you might very well don't have any more agents to hire after the first mission, because you have to uncover them through secret documents and tactical missions, or on the strategy map with certain events. And hiring new agents does, of course, 6 out of 8, so it adds to your agent limit, and it also has a higher danger. So hiring a new agent will raise the danger meter, which is basically the chance of our hideout being discovered. So when this point is reached over here, I think there is a chance of us being attacked in the hideout, and basically if it's completely full, I don't know if there's a final mission or stuff, but that's a way to lose the game as well. So there are ways to decrease the heat meter. We'll get to that in a second. But just be aware that hiring new agents, because of course that leaves a trail of some sort, and you bring someone into the fold, there is always a chance of a leak or stuff going wrong. That's why that adds to the danger meter. So that's it for the crew quarters. I hope you're set up with all the stuff happening here. The infirmary is covered in just a second. So these are the medical slots, like the field hospital for our agents, and we have 2 slots, so we can treat 2 agents at a time. They will be assigned here automatically if they return wounded from a mission, and then they recover, I don't know, a few hit points every hour. Yeah. So the workshop is basically the tech building of our operations, because it enables us to have a bunch of tech upgrades, or to build or develop a bunch of tech upgrades. Additional investigation job board slot, we get to that in a second. We can have more infirmary slots, and we can have add more slots down here. So basically unlocking more slots in different facilities, and unlocks the tactical recon job that will be part of episode 6. Increasing the agent limit, you have already seen that in the crew quarters. Maximum danger increase, so this will add to how much danger our operations HQ can take before being uncovered, stormed, or taken down. More hideout candidates, that's part of later explanation as well. And the Forger facility unlocks cache forging, character customization, and identity. Now, since there are basically 2 resources, money and time, time is not really a resource, but it is, yeah, you have just certain agents, you have to manage time, but you can argue it's not a real resource, but money is. And the Forger facility, I strongly recommend that being your first choice, because it improves your income, and acquiring more resources is of course always a good thing, especially developing that early in the game. So we will build the Forger facility. Also, from what I've seen so far, you can spend money quite freely at the beginning of the game, because like I said, if you select a weapon and go on buy sell at the beginning of the game, we don't have a lot of weapon contracts, so we can just buy standard guns. So say he can't buy another Sparrow or an M10 to fill out his weapon proficiency, because we require weapon contracts that are required through secret documents or events on the strategy map. So we can't really improve our agent setup by buying guns, and there is not really another way to spend a whole lot of money in this game. Also, we don't need every agent to be at full proficiency, because we will have some of them working in our slots and facilities. But like the basically only other way to spend money right now is reforging craftable items. Like I said, these are one-time use only, and then they have to be replaced, and you have to reforge the items in the workshop. And that does cost quite some money. Like a lockpick for one time opening a locked door on the tactical map is $640, which is at this time $40 an hour, something about 16 hours. Quick maths. Yeah. A flashbang is $500, so that is pretty, quite a whole lot. But like I said, tech upgrades and crafting is basically the only thing how you can spend money right now, and later on buying guns. So I'm gonna craft. And Deadpan has the faster crafting talent, so it would be, of course, a wise choice to have him crafting stuff. On the other hand, he is our main character. He does get bonus experience from recon jobs, and I like to have him around on the world map because, you know, he is pretty good with his two-handed gun, and I'd rather have someone with no weapon proficiencies at all, like Tinker, having work in the workshop, not because her cover name obviously somehow relates to crafting items, but you know, he is, of course, she will take 12 hours for flashbang, and that Ben would craft it in 8 hours. So he is a lot faster than her, but he is more valuable in the field. On the other hand, at the beginning of the game, nothing really is happening. Yeah, so I'm gonna have him crafted, but I tend to put people in here that are not fully equipped for tactical combat, even though if they have less, I don't know, talent to be in here. So, these are crew quarters, infirmary, workshop. Now we get to analytics, and this is a mechanic. I don't know if it's all special to this game, Phantom Doctrine. I've never witnessed it before, but I think it is a really fun mechanic that really sets this game apart from others in the genre, and I enjoy it very much. It's a very good design choice that fits this secret agent scenario just perfectly. So, the investigation board is where all the intel pieces we gather are coming together. So, package from Leslie, there was some first-rate espionage work. I'm talking about mine, of course. Ha! Leslie. Since my intel proved so accurate, I must assume the rest of it is worth checking out as well. I need another favor. Find the man called Aguirre. He's an active in this. Also, he's an asshole. Dossier attached. So, we've got new intel through Leslie's envelope. They seem to... This actually appeared later in the game beforehand, so they seem to have made some changes there, but regardless, I said I'm gonna recap the story. So we have had our investigation in that Pakistani airbase to find the nuclear program, which Leslie, our former handler, so our former, you know, up the food chain guy at the CIA, sent us to, and now I'm blanking on the other guy's name that's talking to us, Leslie and but however, the guy who's our handler now, so who is in charge of us now, informed us that an internal CIA investigation is on the way, because what we did for Leslie, even though his intel was good, we did not do with the CIA's approval. So it was an off-the-books operation. You could say we went rogue. I mean, we still somehow operated within the CIA's structure, since Leslie is still working for the CIA, but we did not follow the chain of command, and that could be of some concern. But now we know that Pakistan indeed does have a nuclear program. And these dossiers, and I think that is a really neat design choice to get flavor and background information in the game, combined with this little mini games, if you will. You have basic information pieces that you have to search for keywords, like place here. So memo, June 8, 1972. Subject MK search, black site termination. The MK search site in 81st Avenue will be closed down immediately. All research material to be secured according to Protocol B7. And then you basically have to find the keywords within this text. Special Conceptions Division Manager will provide the transfer location, any person or resident on site to be transferred back to DC. Note, I know how much the work you've done means to you. Let's meet and talk about continuing that work. We need talent for the CODA program. I'm sure you'll like it. MK Chickwit Operation Report Cornerstone. Agents made contact with local drug dealers who claimed to possess superheroin. However, the operation turned out to be a KGB provocation. Agents left after being nearly detained by local law enforcement. Recommend running additional screenings on this type of contact job. So Cornerstone is obviously a place, and I think this information is also kind of randomized. I had a different dossier last time that I worked on. Don't know if that's due to the patch or if there is a bunch of stuff that randomly gives you these information pieces. But we now obviously have MK Chickwit and the MK Search Black Site termination within here, and so we have basically uncovered two mysterious locations, Cornerstone and 81st Avenue, and we will try to uncover them or link them to one another or a person or someone that can shed some more light on it. And these are our other information pieces. The pictures behind those tag words, so these have the tag words that we figured out here already written out, but like the flavor pictures behind it, that's pretty random. So if you get the same intel pieces in your gameplay, there might be other pictures here, because at first I was reading into the pictures as well, but the pictures seem to be really just flavor. So Bath Alumni only has 2 notes. During the chase scene, the hero shakes avant-garde too easily. Stretch that scene out. There's no tunnel system beneath the subway in Havana. So obviously Havana is another place that was mentioned in this piece of intel, and then the ones with the exclamation marks are always still unsearched for tag words. Mr. Reagan, someone is spying on you and Power Brokers, obviously another organization or gang or whatever. That's worrying. CC, which is the operative's name he's communicating with, obviously. An envelope I see marked Project Moscow. So now we have another location here, and I mean, we're in the Cold War with the CIA, and we now have uncovered Moscow and Havana, which of course are 2 locations that are like the capitals of our most or greatest ideologic enemies. So the USSR and the socialist or the socialist island in the American backyard, Cuba, are somehow connected to these places. We don't know yet, because we have only 4 out of 10 intel pieces, and we can't really make sense of everything we have here. Death Tropicana, some K bombers, Power Brokers is C. Yes, so there are no other connections to be made yet, because we need to find more intel. As you know, scanning secret documents on tactical maps does that, but there is a way on the strategic map to require those as well, and we will get to that in the next episode. But just for kicks, I saw, of course, we have another centerpiece right here. I already know that one, and I'm gonna interpret that because I think this is the real nice flavor piece that gives you a lot of indications on what's happening behind the scenes. I will do this before I close the video, but it won't be like fully part of the tutorial. So if you're interested in story and flavor, stick around. If you're interested in the last tutorial about the strategy map, skip ahead to the next episode. So these Aguirre, which was mentioned by our handler Leslie, and was somehow clustered together with the intel about Pakistan he had. And he said, since the Pakistan nuclear program information turned out to be correct, we should take a look at this, because then this might also be valuable information. And this is about an agent named Aguirre, which obviously is named Jerry Melendez and is from Puerto Rico. And this is like his VC that does not, characterize him as a very nice person. Known history: 1973 April, arrested by Puerto Rican police on charges of petty theft, dismissed with a warning. Within the same year, arrested twice more, but every time walks out without serving any time due to his young age. So obviously he does have a lot of criminal history, and is also a slippery character that does not serve for his crimes, as you will see continue reading this. 1976, sentenced to 25 years in a local prison for the murder of 7 people, including 2 of his own gang members, escapes with 6 months from detention, so he got away once more. 1977, appears for the first time in the Drug Enforcement Agency of America records as a local enforcer in Miami. So he obviously went to Miami and started working for the DEA, so a government organization to fight the war on drugs. I don't know if like his gang history is also related to drugs. I mean, he walks over from 76 to 77 to start working in the DEA. Obviously, you can't just start working at the DEA. I don't know if like he has a history with drugs that made him valuable to the DEA, but obviously he's centered around drugs now. The DEA runs surveillance on Chilean reps. I'm gonna pronounce it Chilean reps, but I'm not sure on the pronunciation. So gang or organization. File and confirms he's making money on the side as talent hunter for several brothels. Evidence for multiple sexual assaults and kidnappings throughout the year, never prosecuted due to formal reasons. So he does act sex trafficking or forced prostitution, but avoids prosecution and works for the DEA. So like I said, a very, very elusive character. And now comes the interesting part, which I think is why this piecing together information, reading between the lines, is fun. 78 disappears from DEA's radar, of course, because they were onto him for his, probably, even though he wasn't prosecuted before, but heat was starting to crack up, so he disappears. Possible sightings in Cuba, which is the back he underwent training in the Cuban intelligence. So now, after working for the DEA, he seems to be with Cuban intelligence, comes back to Miami, is then arrested by the DEA during Operation Tiburon, not sure about that either, released upon intervention from undisclosed government agency. So we have someone who is, and I'm going to say he's a Cuban spy, so he is very possible in line with foreign agencies, and then is arrested by the Americans and then released upon intervention from undisclosed government agency. I think what that means, and I haven't gotten as far in the game to know that, but this really does sound like a typical spy movie, like they caught a foreign agent and operative, and now they turned him into a double agent. Because why would they release him from? Why would an undisclosed government agency step in to have him released? So either they're releasing him to possibly tail him and uncover other operatives, or they turned him and he's now working for the Americans. And then in 1982, December, officially enrolled as a volunteer with the Good Samaritans of America, sightings in various Middle East nations, suspected continuing smuggling operations. So we don't know what exactly he's smuggling. It might be related to drugs and other stuff, since he is, he has this DEA history. This Good Samaritans is obviously a cover, but is it just a cover for smuggling operations, or is it a cover for his operations as a Cuban spy that is tailed by the Americans, or is it a cover for his operations as a double agent working for the Americans now? I think, when I read this, since we are all about agents and stuff, this is what I saw here and read into that, and it really got me hyped up for the story to unfold, because I think there are very nice and neat details hidden within these dossier files. Okay, but we don't have any intel on that yet, and we will have to acquire it in the advancing the game by playing on the strategy map, and that will be part of the next tutorial episode 6, the strategy map. If you're interested in that, I'll see you then.